Now, ITV have announced plans to generate new TV ideas for TV shows using artificial intelligence. ITV is willing to pay someone £95,000 a year to use AI to come up with TV shows, films, and digital-first content.
It doesn't matter if it's a success or not.
Well, ITV have never worried about that.
So they are going to employ one person to do this.
One person who's going to control all of the AI. ITV believes AI will be better at creating shows than TV producers.
I don't know what AI can do that humans can't, for a start.
Well, you've seen some of the people who work at ITV.
Yes.
I think AI might be better. You could call it AI TV.
Oh, very good.
I just came up with that. It's only been 10 years.
AI TVX.
See, ITVX sounds to me like a pornographic TV channel.
I don't know what you're talking about.
ITVX. You don't think so? Do you think ChatGPT could create the next Mrs. Brown's Boys? Do you think?
I thought ChatGPT did come up with Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Are you not a fan of Mrs. Brown's Boys?
Is anybody?
Yes, it's a huge show. In fact, I was going to ask you, the BBC have obviously commissioned Mrs. Brown's Boys for this Christmas. It's often their biggest show, and they've dumped it at 11 p.m. or 11:30.
That doesn't show a great amount of faith in it, does it?
But I think that's because the commissioners hate it. TV viewers love it. But the BBC...
But do they?
Yes.
I mean, their first Christmas special, they got something like 12, 13 million people watching.
Huge.
And I think the last Christmas special, 2 and a bit.
But isn't that the nature of television? Everything's got smaller. I think they shunted it into the later part of the schedule as well.
Shunt is a lovely word.
Shunt is, well, that's a word that's a technical term we use for screwing somebody over in the business.
Would you like a shunt?
Have you ever been shunted over?
Oh, many times.
Did you enjoy it?
Not really, no.
Some people pay good money for that.
Ended up with hemorrhoids afterwards.
Now, there's a comedy writer called Jack Rook who's criticised ITV. He said the most successful projects have been born out of real human experiences. AI cannot do this. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with Jack Rook, even though I've never heard of him.
He's a successful guy.
Yeah, you can be cloned. Your voice can be cloned.
Yeah.
When you send in a job, you don't know if it is going to be cloned and used, and then you've got to go through all sorts of legal stuff.
So maybe when you sign contracts now and you say to QVC, they can use your voice, maybe they say they want to use it in perpetuity.
That's the very phrase, in perpetuity.
Yeah.
It's a frightening time. There's so many people. The radio industry has been constricted, so a lot of people have left radio or been shunted. There's that word again.
Who doesn't love a good shunt?
Oh, yeah. They've been shunted from radio, so the next progression, I suppose, has to be voiceovers, because lots of people have their own home studios and what have you. So there's a whole flood of people going in the voiceover market, and then you've got AI as well.
Are you worried about being cloned?
I'm worried about AI and the impact it's going to have.
I have to tell you, when we booked this studio today, I did have to sign a form, and it did say, can we use Gregg's body in perpetuity? And I said yes. So next month you may be cloned. You may not even be here.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
What would you call your clone?
Craig Scott. Craig Scotch. That's me. The AI Gregg Scott is Craig Scotch.
Moving on. Channel 4 has commissioned a new series called Game of Wool. In each show, Olympic swimmer Tom Daley will challenge 10 people to become Britain's best knitter. Are you excited?
Tom is managed by YMU,
which used to be called
known as James Grant Management. They are the biggest management company there is.
What does YMU stand for?
Your mother's uterus.
Oh, interesting.
I think. I might be wrong.
I think you're right.
Anyway, they are the biggest management company. They have Anton Deck. They have Paddy McGuinness. They used to have Phillip Schofield, Amanda Holden.
Yeah.
The biggest names that they have the majority of them. So Tom Daley is with them, and he's been with them for a number of years. And I suppose they've been wondering for a number of years, how can we get Tom away? Because this is going to be his first solo presenting gig. But they've been wondering. YMU, who normally just say, we want that happening, and it happens. They've been wondering what they can do. So I wonder if the whole knitting at the side of the pool thing was a plan, and then they've said, oh, we could do a show about this, and the commissioners have gone, yes, that's a great idea.
So you don't think he's really a knitter? He's not a knitter?
I think
he's not a knitter?
I'm not saying he's not a knitter.
It sounds like you're saying he's not a knitter.
I'm not saying he's not a knitter. He might be nuts about knitting.
He might be nuts. That should be the title.
Nuts about knitting.
Tom Daley's nuts about knitting.
Tom Daley's knitted nuts.
And he knits nuts.
Willy Warmers.
Willy Warmers, perfect for the season.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
See, in an instant, we've come up with a better format.
You see, we don't need artificial intelligence.
No, we don't need intelligence.
That's true.
We don't have it.
Each week, competitors will test their capabilities and skills in
Competitors.
creating clothing, jewellery, and furniture.
Jewelry, knitting jewelry.
No, but how do you create furniture out of wool?
Have you ever sat on a sheep?
Well, not that I could talk about on this podcast. It's not that kind of show. Tom Daley said, I'm slightly nervous about taking on my first ever TV presenting role.
Don't do it.
Do you think he should be nervous?
Yeah, don't do it.
Did
if you're
he
nervous
not
about
host
it.
a show called Splash?
No, he was like the resident splasher.
Well, that's a completely different show.
I know. Yes. It was a spin-off on ITV.
You'll have to show me. Was that on ITV XXX?
Yeah. ITV XXX.
A Channel 4 spokesman said viewers love Tom and can't wait to see what he does next. Moving on, ITV is bringing back Bullseye. The game show was a huge hit in the 80s with the famous woke comedian, Jim Bowen. Now, ITV needed an iconic darts player to host this reboot, so they've hired the cricket legend Freddie Flintoff. Are you excited?
No. The Bullseye was Jim Bowen. And they tried a revival with Dave Spikey on Challenge TV.
Yes.
Remember
Forgot
that?
about that. Challenge TV, where shows go to die. You know, whenever they create a reboot of something, it never flies, does it?
They did a very, very good job of the set. It was a lovely, in fact, they enhanced it a little bit and they did a very nice job of the set. That's about the only complimentary thing. They even now get this, they reduced the value of the Bullseye in the first round from £200 to £150.
I can't believe people accuse you of being a game show geek.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Because I'm sure everybody watching that was thinking the same thing.
But that Bullseye was always £200. And to reduce it by 50 quid, it's so noticeable.
It was always a speedboat.
In the original, yeah.
So it was like you got some woman who lives in Coventry winning a speedboat.
Yeah,
and apparently there's speedboats that were just left all across Great Britain. They're just dumped. Do you think the new series will also be giving away speedboats, or it's going to be £1 million?
You see, this is the thing. When you do a show like Bullseye, if you revive it, you've got to be true to the original, but also, I believe, be a little bit tongue-in-cheek as well, in an affectionate way.
But Freddie Flintoff is that kind of character, wouldn't you say?
If they have him on autocue for one part of it. This is the thing. Jim was organic.
Because Jim couldn't read an autocue, let's be honest.
Well, that's true.
He was from the old school sort of blue comics of the 70s, wasn't he? The comedians.
But he was
Mike Reed and Jim Bowen and those types.
He was the first person to admit that the first series he did, he was awful. And he was.
Yeah.
But they saw something in him. And that what they saw in him was him being real.
Yeah.
He was a real person. And if you made a cock up, it didn't matter because it made him even more lovable.
Moving on, shall we talk about Gregg Wallace?
It's not a good time to be called Greg and in your mid-50s, is it, at the moment?
But you only have 2 G's in your name. You don't have 3.
Yes, one at the beginning, one at the end.
It's the Greggs with 3 G's you need to be worried about. Well, Gregg Wallace's hit show Inside the Factory is moving to primetime BBC One.
Okay.
But it's got a new presenter. Can you guess who it is?
Go on.
Paddy McGuinness has been signed up to replace.
Well, I mean, why
Wallace.
not? I mean, he does so well at taking over shows and making them his own and making them a huge success.
As you say, he's got a successful track record of replacing people. He obviously took over Top Gear. So do you think he can save Inside the Factory?
Well, clearly. His track record, Catch Point, his quiz show where you had to catch a ball.
Benchmark. That was another one.
Channel 4.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, everything he touches turns.
And they do always say,
like milk.
If you want Peter Kay and you can't afford Peter Kay, you always go Greg Scott and then Paddy McGuinness.
A Timu Peter Kay.
Do you think Paddy McGuinness owes some of his success to Peter Kay?
Well, maybe just a little bit. Do you know, it's funny, I watched the whole of Phoenix Nights recently.
Superb.
And
it's dated very well.
Yeah.
You have, Greg.
I don't go dating anymore.
When I met this man, I thought he was 50. This was 20 years ago. He was 35.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
But now...
Bruce Forsyth was the same. He's never been or was never,
Yeah.
less than 50. Even when, if you look at, there's clips of him on YouTube, on the internet, and
Somebody I worked with tried to book Bruce Forsyth as a guest recently.
oh yeah,
I had to break it to them that he's no longer here.
That's
it happens
extraordinary.
more than you realize in this business, because there's a lot of young people now who are talent bookers, and they don't realize,
someone's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Barry Cryer, we've had a lot of trouble with him recently, because every time a celebrity died,
Yeah.
Barry Cryer was the number one person we would call to get the obituary.
Because he knew everybody.
When Barry Cryer died, we didn't know who to call.
No.
And I said, let's get Greg Scott. And they said, who's that?
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Let's get Paddy McGuinness.
yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Mm.
Now, a BBC spokesman said Paddy will bring a new energy to the show. Inside the Factory is one of the BBC's most loved brands, so it
Jewel in the
deserved a
crown.
huge star at the helm.
Mhm.
He has a passion for engineering, and that is impossible to fake.
He can't fake it, can he? He can't fake it.
Could you fake a passion for engineering?
I'm trying to think what I could fake.
If
Anything in
if
life.
it meant 100 grand a year.
Yes, I could.
So tell me, why do you love engineering so much?
Engineering. Well, it's so engineering, isn't it?
Yes.
You can make things. How am I doing? You can make things with stuff, and it's a fascinating watch, made even more fascinating and even more engaging by the enthusiasm of the host, namely Paddy McGuinness.
So I think when the next scandal comes out, because Paddy's probably due one,
No.
and they need to replace that host,
No.
we will send that show reel to the BBC.
Well, that we're going to snip
That will be your Inside the Factory
Wow.
edition. A BBC spokesman said viewers love Paddy and can't wait to see what he does next. BBC Two has commissioned a new series called Chess Masters.
Mhm.
In each show, Sue Perkins from Mel and Sue
Yes.
will pit amateur players against each other to find out who is Britain's best chess player. Now, this has got hit written all over it.
It's got
Hit.
hits written all over it.
Are you excited?
I would imagine that some people would be.
But wouldn't you rather play chess than watch chess?
I don't know, because do you pick up tips? Do you?
Well, look, a BBC spokesman said 6 million people play chess in the UK every week.
Right.
That's a lot.
I'm not one of them.
Now, Sue Perkins says this show is all about psychology,
Right.
strategy, and nerves of steel. We've been waiting over 30 years to see chess back on our screens, and the BBC has done it.
I want to know what the format is. Is it
People
just
playing chess.
Is that it? Is
Yes.
it just people playing chess?
Yes. Oh, and I
If
think
that's
I believe there's somebody from the TV show The Traitors who's going to be
Right.
joining Sue on the show as well, probably to look at the psychology of how people are like messing with each other's minds.
I
It's a bit
wondered.
like poker, when you kind of have to confuse the other opponent, make them think you've got a different hand.
I wondered how long it would be before contestants from the Traitors would be involved in other
Yeah.
shows. Oh, you've got a popular show. Let's grab those people quickly. It's like with Chris McCausland winning Strictly. I hope to God that they do not
Prediction?
rush it.
He's going to be a big star,
Oh,
and they're going to give him all the wrong shows.
exactly. They're going to rush into it. They're not going to think properly. Hopefully, Chris or his management or both have the nous to be able to say, no, that's not right. And I know he did a pilot for a game show in 2022, which wasn't commissioned.
Wow, I can't imagine what that's like. Making game show pilots that aren't commissioned? What's that like?
I know.
How do you
It's
relate with that?
unthinkable. I think Chris is magnificent. I did before
Naturally
Strictly.
funny guy.
A very funny comedian, with the right vehicle. He's so loved at the moment, and he's a megastar.
Yeah.
And what he did on Strictly,
Do you know what he needs? This
Go
is
on.
what he needs, but this is not what he'll get.
go on,
He needs a new panel show,
Mhm.
something that's not a reboot.
with
Yeah,
the same
Just
old guests.
for any TV commissioners listening, you can sell game shows that aren't reboots. You can come
Mm.
up with new ideas. They can be created by AI if you work at ITV.
Oh God, yeah,
He needs a new panel show where he's not the host, but a team captain.
yeah.
Because the second you make funny people hosts, it no longer works. Look
Correct.
at Greg on Chris Mania. It didn't work, right? But this is what you always need. So what you do is you make them a team captain like a Paul Merton,
Yeah.
and you tie it around what he's good at. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be political. Maybe it's just funny.
I adore the guy, and I hope he goes absolutely nuclear. I really do. I think he's shown himself not only to be very funny, but he is lovable and extremely talented. And
And a good dancer.
Well,
which is amazing, right?
what he's done and what Diane did with him, it's off the chart.
Funny thing about
Incredible.
the BBC, already this year, I think 500,000 people have stopped paying their TV license.
Right.
It's a complete rip-off. I think they're putting up £5 a year
Mm-hmm.
next year. So it's like £175, I think
Right.
it's going to be, which I don't think is value for money. I don't care that
Why not, though? I mean, compared to
Because-
Sky and go on.
No one from Netflix is going to bang on your door on a Saturday morning and say, come out, Greg Scott, you haven't paid for watching RuPaul's Drag Race. That's not going to happen.
I don't watch RuPaul's.
But that's the situation the BBC's in, and they do target pensioners. I don't care if there are 100 local radio stations or if there's BBC Free Online now.
Local radio has been destroyed. BBC local radio.
If it was a good product, it would stand on its own 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason why it shouldn't be a subscription-based service like Netflix. I'm quite happy to pay for Netflix. Disney Plus is also excellent. I don't know if you've got Disney Plus, but Rivals, have you seen that?
I haven't seen it yet.
That is a show created for you.
Yeah.
It's about the television industry in the 80s, about an ITV franchise. I just think if the BBC really believed in itself, it would say, okay, pay for what you want. Maybe there's a staggered service. Maybe you.
There's no doubt at all that the whole funding of the BBC needs a complete overhaul.
Why can't iPlayer say, we've got the main 2 channels, which the majority of people watch over 60, and they can say, you can have these 2 channels if you pay us £50 a year, right? And then if you want all the other extra stuff, let's face it, nobody does, right? Only you and I watch Noel's House Party repeats on BBC 4. Nobody else does that.
Right.
Then you can pay the extra, or we can watch it on YouTube for free.
Yeah. I can't.
But I'm
disagree.
aware that you would like to work for the BBC one day, so just say something nice about them and I'll edit it in.
They've got a lovely shiny reception. It's a lovely shiny reception. Not reception as in coming through the aerial.
I was going to say, you never get a good reception when you enter the BBC, though.
You certainly don't in Scarborough.
Phillip Schofield made his big comeback this year on Channel 5 in a 3-part series called
big
Castaway.
comeback on Channel 5?
Yes. No, not Channel 5. Channel 5.
Was that an impression of me?
It was. In the show, Phillip was left on a desert island all alone for 2 weeks and paid a lot of money to complain about ITV. Do you think it was a good career move?
I don't know what he was trying to achieve with it. I mean,
he's managed by his daughter now, so maybe she was the one who suggested it.
At the end of the 3rd show, he finished by saying, I'm done with television. That's it. I'm done. I'm out of the industry. So what was the point in making this show? Was he hoping that despite saying, I'm done with television, was he hoping that execs might say, no, Philip, you can't be done with television. Come back to us.
No, nobody watched those 3 episodes. I think it barely cracked 1 million.
Yeah, I think the first episode, people tuned in out of a morbid curiosity, and then it dropped off as the show went on.
Yeah.
But
But I was thinking, they apparently they do one of these every year, and they did one with Joanna Lumley the year before. I think Ruby Wax did one as well. Do you think Gregg Wallace could do the next one? Maybe it could rehabilitate his career? Would you like to see Greg with 3 Gs on a desert island?
If they're going to use it as the sort of show to try and revive careers, then why the heck not?
Maybe you could go on it.
Try and
what would you
revive
do?
a career.
What would
There's
you do?
Nothing wrong with my career.
Well, you're here. What would you do on a desert island for 3 days?
Well, I can't swim, so I wouldn't go in the sea. I'm rubbish at building sandcastles, and I like everything done for me. I don't think I'd last 3 episodes. I'd be dead halfway through episode 1.
I think they should commission it immediately. That would be
Ooh,
great
you
TV.
Bitch!
Well, on that bombshell, I think we should wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody. That was Greg Scott, the king of television, and we shall be back again next month.